Okay, so remember that they're changing my voice. If I was a corny person, I'd call myself Mr. Evidence or something. I apologize for the mic noise. It's easier to use this default phone mic than one of the two mics I have here, or the 6 phones that are old phones that have damaged mics that have been damaged in the last 5 years or so, which is way out of the ordinary. I looked up to some degree, it's out of the ordinary. Um, Everyone I know doesn't have the same problem, but here I've gone through all these phones, right? So I left off with point 6. I forgot to add that to the Highlandville man who did the shooting, Richard Byrd, right? The Byrd is Richard, right? They want, the English are some of the people who are communicating to me covertly. It's safe to say, right? London Breed, Gay Vine Newsom, right? King Richard, James Bond, Robin Hood. Okay, the way they have a kind of stranglehold on American culture, the Bush family's English-like, Biden, I mean, go through the list, right? Now, sometimes even the Scottish and other groups are very similar to the English, but that's kind of the mold. America's part of the Anglosphere, the sun never sets on the British Empire, the double cross on the British flag, and so on and so forth, right? And of course, the connections with the Da Vinci Code and the Scottish and British connections, English connections. So, of course, the UK, right? The United Kingdom, UK, U being crossed out. The limit, right? The L word is the derogatory term for English people. Lime, the last part is E, and the T. And if I have time to go over it, we're going to get to point 12, which is the BAFTA, the British Academy of Art and Television Arts. Okay, and they had an awards ceremony, awards session, what have you, and the person who was calling them names. Now, off record, when they're feeling me important, they're calling me names, sometimes I fire back, and the English are a common target because of the nature of what's going on and how they're trying to seem superior and so on and so forth. So I can't take a lot of time editing these videos because I'm too far behind and I have other videos to make. I have a Numbers 12 video coming soon. I have a Jeremiah 18. I'm way, way behind. So I have to shoot through this, and it's not so important to prove these occult things. The people who are honest about it, to whatever degree, are gonna be honest. People who lie are gonna lie. This stuff might never even come to the light. So I have to focus on my work for God and not exposing what they're doing to me so much. This is part of why people should rally to me, and they should make sure I have everything I need, and they should work with me and have a lot of transparency and see how I live my life in a very humble way and so on and so forth, rather than me trying to prove this all the time, which is partially due to the possibility of compensation and getting people's attention before I can get, what the government owes me, because I'm crippled and so on and so forth to some degree. Sensitive to noise, light, all kinds of stuff that gets in the way of doing jobs, and I hardly go out. I can't go out at night. I can't go out too early in the morning, and so on and so forth. So again, I'm not about the money. I'm willing to be on camera, all the time, except for in the shower or something, in the bedroom, if I'm married or something, and to show you that I live a very humble life. But I definitely want to pursue the things that I'm interested in, which is, doing God's work, helping the poor, finding a wife, and all the attractive females these days are gold diggers, and every female these days is insufficient. So it kind of defaults with physical attraction when we're talking about me, specifically Christ. Everyone else, they don't deserve to have an attractive female because of what they're. So I forgot to go over the wordplay with the numbers. The numbers coordinate to letters, right? So you have the 160, which is A, B, C, D, E, F, A, F, O, and the 248, which is the B, A, B, C, D, B, D, H. Okay, so it's saying A, fo, of A, and the B, P, H, which is, has to do with the P has been established time and time again as the penis, right? Just like the D is the dick, right? So pen is penis, and so on and so forth. The dick and the sick, and hell and L, and so on and so forth. Hello, and hell, O, the O is the reproductive cycle. So anyway, so I got to shoot through this. I have a lot to do, like I said. So point number 7, and keep in mind this is part 2. There was more on the black man who was hung using the technology, right? They used technology one way or another to hang him. Maybe the group of people hung him too. Maybe their brains were hacked. The evidence is overwhelming there. And so I'm going to put that stuff on the screen. I'm going to shoot through that. I don't have time to go over it. Part of the evidence is when they say, hey, you owe it to us to take your time. They were talking to the police, but it seemed to be a coded message to me. Whether they see it that way or not, people are under mass mind control, and it has everything to do with rape by deception and influencing people's thinking. Okay, that's a huge thing that I talk about once in a while, and I mean to talk about more, is that yes, your brains are also being hacked in various ways, using the technology on your phone, just the psychology of it, and also they have remote brain hacking, mass brain hacking technology. Quite often back in the day, people used to bow down to me all the time. They'd bow their heads in a very similar way, and they'd pass by, every second person, sometimes a bunch of them in the row, bowing at the same time. Sometimes they told them to do it, sometimes they hacked their brain, but they synchronized it with technology. It's mass brain hacking technology. If you don't believe me, I feel sorry for you, and I don't, because you're slacking your work. So one of the people in the video about the black man who was hung said that what it means to be black and in America and to be conscious of what's going on is to be in a rage all the time. And she was citing somebody else. It was a quote that she was citing when she said that. So let's look at point number 8 here. So we have this drug lord who was named El Mencho, and he spent time in the Bay Area, where I'm from. I've been to San Francisco dozens of times, maybe 50 plus times even. It's up there somewhere. And he used to live there, and he was caught because he had a romantic affair or rendezvous with someone from the Bay Area. Okay, and he looked like Huey Newton, who was also from the Bay Area, one of the founders of the Black Panther Party, but he was some kind of Mexican person who's part black, part Mexican, or something to that effect. And again, his name is El Mencio, right? El Mencho, rather. Menchus, right? El meaning the Canaanite deity I talk about all the time. El also means the, and it's heat and heaty, the word the scrambled. There's all kinds of connections there. Also, when it came to the reporting of this, there was a Filipino person explaining, and we see the wordplay there of, I guess the guy was killed in Tapalpa, which is like the word tilapia, and she's Filipino, and she looks like a Filipino version of Maria to some degree. There's some parallels there. And so you have the wordplay with the tap al pa and put lay pa and put lay pa, and of pal pa I wordplay with the tilapia, right? Because the word is from Tapalpa is like the word tilapia, and then you have the Filipinos, so they use that kind of wordplay as well, that kind of similar wordplay. They use the rhyme and reason, the interchangeable vowels. There's more to the wordplay, but this is kind of the gist of it. I don't have time to do all this wordplay all the time. Okay, there are maybe another 5 to 10 videos that I'm behind on, and that's just the ones I put in a folder. There are dozens that I've missed over the years because I just have too much to do, and the wordplay goes on and on and on and on, right? And so I have to prioritize, just like with the scriptures in the Bible. No one has the time to connect these scriptures to everything possible. You have to prioritize what's important. That's why there's the golden rule and the greatest commandment. They sum up the Bible. It's more important to get it right, the tree of life, how you live your life, than to go on and on about the connections here. So let's keep this going here with that same kind of formula. So the next point is there were fires there. The word fire is a plain word for Eri. Eri is Haro Eri, the Igbo Eri, the Skywalker, the Son of God. Basically, Eri, Jesus, and Horus are all superimposed on the same thing, and that is the top martial arts ever, the Son of God. We said in Numbers 12, where it makes it clear that Moses is chosen because he recognizes that God's aware and emphasizes that, and therefore God speaks to him clearly. It's also important to note that they messed up this video by making it so I kept running out of space, and I had to delete like 300 pictures I didn't want to delete to kind of keep this thing going, and using the same formula before. I have to prioritize. So I hope that the law enforcement's listening and they're watching this, that they take they download the videos, they put them in a folder, because the evidence is partly in the videos, clips on YouTube, and they might be taken down by the news stations, the channels, the people who are operating those channels on YouTube. Okay, so again, the word fires is like the word freeze, right? So, justice, just ice, right? Cheat, see heat. Okay, the word teach is a plain word for cheat. Okay, so see heat, see he at, he cat, teach, cheat, they all connect there with the wordplay. So then point number 11, we have the A-listers who are at some kind of, they're at the speech for the BAFTA Awards. That's point number 12. The BAFTA is the British Academy of Film and Television Arts. And this guy who had Tourette's syndrome, right? There's wordplay with the Tourette's. And again, the tour, we can go on and on about that. Set isn't Tourette. Okay, so, he yelled out, he blurted out the N-word. Okay, so this is A-list audience, right? And they have the kind of Johnny Cage effect. And because I talk about Mortal Kombat, right? MK Combat, MK Ultra. Okay, MK Ultra is a play on words for cult ram. Obviously, that's not a coincidence. Mars is a deity of war, so you have MK Ultra, and you have Ram is Mars, Rams is Mars scrambled, and that goes back to, it's Roman deity of war. His Greek counterpart is Ares. That goes back to the Mortal Kombat, which is a bunch of martial arts, right? Where we get the word martial art. The word, that is, not the origin of it, is the deity Mars. And martial arts is about, martial arts in terms of the Western occult Roman context, right? The Roman Western occult context is the arts of Mars, right? Martial arts, right? Okay. And of course, it predates that. It's superimposed on what martial arts actually are. I'm sure you put that together now. So that leads us to point 13. So the Johnny Cage, CH, right? New Age, New Cage. It was explained to me on Facebook that the New Age is a play on words for New Cage. There's all kinds of light workers, empaths, New Age people, witches, people describe themselves as wizards, witches in terms of self-proclaimed witches, occultists, all kinds of social club, all kinds of people who talk about the wordplay, magic spells, Masonic wordplay, police code, okay, gang code, on and on and on, okay, gospel, ghost spell, lexicon, etymology, linguistics, okay. So that leads us to the point number 13. There was a shooting in West San Jose where somebody went there and killed his girlfriend, and it was at a European wax center, okay? And there's been, all these shootings that have been occurring in San Jose are connected to this case here and the wordplay pattern. Now, how they do this, I'm going to go ahead and speculate a little bit. Okay, there's the CIA isn't the only ones doing it, right? They aren't the only ones doing it, and there's a bunch of people pulling their strings. Okay, there's a bunch of Freemasons in law enforcement. There's Eastern Star. There's Boule. There's Scottish Rite. There's York Rite. There's all kinds of groups here. There's the Shriners. There's a bunch of groups that work together. When you look at the history of this country, it was a bunch of fraternities working together. William Joseph Simmons, who started the Second Clan, which had as many as 6 million or more members. Okay, was in 24 fraternities on record. Okay. And he was also in the church. He was a preacher of some sort, so on and so forth. That's the history of this country. When they did those lynchings, it was a bunch of fraternities working together. They'd get together and they'd hang people, and that's politics in a nutshell. That's social clubs, social network in a nutshell, corporate partnerships in a nutshell, what have you. So they have the means, motive, and ability, and they have the history. They're up to their old tricks. And I know I've been speaking in a way that, they're making it harder for me to talk, so I'm gonna leave it there.